All right, so it's now 6:35. We're ready to get started. So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kevin Polito. I'm the Neighborhood Affairs Division Director at the City of Miami Beach. I want to welcome you this evening. We have our North Beach Log Cabin Community Outreach Meeting. Today, you're going to be hearing from our capital improvement team to go over the North Beach Log Cabin plans before the Design Review Board meeting next week. Before we get started, as we always do, I do want to recognize our elected officials that are taking time to join us today. I do see Mayor Stephen Miner as well as his aide, Mr. Deputy Blake Govin. And we also have our CIP director on the phone as well as his team, Mr. David Gomez. And I saw we had our chair of the GeoBond committee, Ms. Karen Revo. So thank you all for taking the time to join us this afternoon. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Larissa Vargas from our CIP Capital Improvement Projects team for some opening remarks about what we are looking to do here today. Then she'll turn it over to Everlyn, and Everlyn will walk us through the presentation. And then at the end, as we always do, we'll take an opportunity for some questions. And of course, we ask for 2 minutes per person, and then we'll be happy to answer any questions about the project. Larissa?
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Kevin. My name is Larissa Vargas. I am the Capital Improvements Project Manager for the log cabin located within the North Beach Oceanside Park. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to share the proposed project design and gather valuable input from the community. And I'm not going to take up too much time. With that being said, I'd like to hand it over to my senior project manager, Mohsen, to introduce himself, and then we can go straight through to our consultant team, BEA Architects.
Mohsen?
My name is Mohsen Shaban. I'm part of the CIP project management team. Welcome everyone actually to that project. As my colleague Larissa mentioned, this actually public meeting to introduce the North Beach Log Cabin project and to listen to your feedback, guys, and to answer all the questions that you have. Now, I'm gonna actually give the opportunity to our consultant BAA, Evelyn, to start actually the presentation.
Good evening, everybody. This is Evelyn from BA Architects. I'm the project manager and also head of design here at the office. So, as it was being introduced, this is a presentation for the community outreach meeting for the North Beach Log Cabin. So we want to start with the previous City of Miami Beach demolished log cabin. This is the previous log cabin condition, and as it was built in 1934. It was about 1,200 square foot, which we respected that and we kept that, and that's what we currently have on the proposed design. It was demolished, and it had wood finished floors, wood interior doors, and it's important to note that there were some elements that were taken into consideration from the new design. We're reusing the chimney of this log cabin, the demolished log cabin, and some of the wooden logs are also gonna be refurbished and reused in these new proposed log cabins. Due to the deterioration of the structural components of the demolished log cabins, we cannot use anything that has to do with the structure of the new one. So all the log cabin components and all the wood components are gonna be used mostly as an aesthetic design feature on the new proposed log cabin. And on the following images, you're gonna see some of the condition that was on the previous log cabin. As you can see, you have different views, and also you can see how the interior used to look like, the chimney. And then here is the chimney relocated and dismantled. And then these are some of the ideas of how we can repurpose the original log cabin materials. We can use it for any exterior condition and also for some of the interior furniture and some of the building furniture like cabinets, reception desks, and items that will beautify the interior spaces and some of the exterior components of the new proposed log cabin. This is some ideas of how we can repurpose the material. Here we're looking at the site location. So the project is located in Miami Beach. And then this here is on the Collins Avenue and 81st Street. So here you can see some Google images, some street views of the park. And then if you go in, we can see some images of where the location of the new proposed log cabin will be. Okay. So these are some existing park conditions. And if you follow this key plan, we kind of guide you how we enter the park. It's important to know that we have an existing dog park. And then here at the bottom, we have somewhere here, we have, you're gonna see it in another slide. We have existing restroom. That's very important because that's one of the reasons we did not include restrooms on this log cabin, because we had some near restrooms on site. So the scope of the work consists, as I mentioned, of a 1,200 square foot one-story log cabin, and it will potentially serve as a community and informational center. It will showcase photos of the original log cabin, previously dismantled in 2017. It will provide seating spaces for guests, counter spaces, vending machine area, storage room, janitor closet. Overall, it's important to know that this log cabin will be a place for people, for the community, to engage with one another. People that don't know each other, they will go there, they will eventually meet, and then they will form new relationship along the way. So this is mostly about engaging the community. And some important factors to mention is the materiality resistant. Then we look at the different materials and how these materials can be resistant to salt and moisture, since this cabin is so close to the water. Also, they need to be hurricane resistant. They need to have energy conservations, and there's certain factors that they need to comply with the Florida building codes, and also has to be fire resistant and so forth and so on. We'll talk about it eventually as the slides goes on. Here we can see the overall park and where the site location is, and how everything that is in proximity. You have hotels, parking, and restaurants and public schools. Here we take a little bit of a close-up of the site location. We see that we have a few restaurants, hotels, public school, private school, and bus stops. Here we go even closer, and this is the selected location for the log cabin. So around it, as I mentioned before, we have some picnic barbecue area. We have public bathrooms right here at the bottom. We have a dog park. We have bus stops and the fire hydrants all around. And then all around here we have bike racks. And it's important to know that because we also, as we move forward, we also propose new bike racks closer to the log cabin. So these are some of the considerations, some of the materials that we were looking into. So this log cabin the structural component is gonna be a reinforced masonry. 8-inch CMU wall, and then it's gonna be a slab on grade. And to have more of the previous log cabin look, we're adding siding. So this could be out of wood, or this could be out of vinyl, or somewhere in between of a composite material. Due to durability and due to the site condition, it's best for us to use vinyl or composite, since it's an issue of moisture, and it also is an issue of salt, and also of, it's all about maintenance. So we wanna mitigate that. This is the site. This is the proposed overall site plan. As we mentioned, we have an existing dog park. We have the restroom. It's important to know that the distance between the log cabin and the existing restroom is about 275 feet. That's very important. We also include here, we're gonna go a little bit more into the more zoom in so you have a better understanding. We're proposing new bike racks nearby the log cabin to facilitate people, as they approach the log cabin, they're able to come in as walking. They could come in riding a bike. They could come in as however they want to, as long as they are able to meet and engage with one another within the cabin. And it's important to know also that we added an ADA concrete ramp for disabled people. Another item to mention is that this, due to FEMA and to a flood elevation, this proposed log cabin has been raised 10 feet high. That's very important. We're mitigating sea level rise. The outdoor is gonna be out of pavers. And as you can see, as people from the community approach the front of the community of the log cabin, you can either go around and you're gonna have seatings all around, or you can go into the community area, and then you have your reception, you have your gathering space, you have more of a study area, and then this is more of a like an area that you can be by yourself, so nobody bothers you, even though you have another chair next to you. It's more of a isolated area in a way, but this could be rearranged. The furniture is not fixed. This is just an idea for context for the presentation. We have two main of entrances. We have this one right here, and then we have this other one, which is for the people with disability to go more forward. Here on the back, you have the outdoor area, which is an outdoor patio. We have all of these are existing trees. We're using them as shading, and that's very important. We don't want any structure to provide shadings. We're using the natural element, the existing trees, as a mitigation for shading, to provide shading, and also to block noise from the surrounding areas. So we're using different materials. We're using permeable pavers on the outside, as you can see. We're using concrete on the stairs and on the ramps, and we're using wood deck all around. And inside, we have the slab on grade, and on top of the slab on grade, we're doing a finished flooring out of wood. And we have defined two different flooring. We have defined your normal flooring, and then you have this one that is called German wood flooring. As we continue in the presentation, we're gonna be more specific on these materials. And it's very important to know that we are repurposing the original log cabin chimney materials. This is some elevations. This is a side north elevation of the log cabin. And here you can see some of the materials that we're using. This is this east elevation, which is mostly on the back, where you have the patio. This is the west elevation, which is one of the main entrances. You have your light fixtures, and then these bollards. All of these are in compliance with the totals. And then this is your signage that says "Welcome to the City of Miami Beach Log Cabin," and we can use the existing log cabin materials on this end as an aesthetic component. This is the south elevation. This is some of the renderings as you approach the building. These are the materials that we're using. We're using a standing seam metal roof. We're using wooden logs that resembles wood, but it could be either wood or it could be vinyl. We're using the glazing material. We're using stone veneer. The exterior components, it's important to know that the exterior components are in conversation also with the interior components. So as you can see, we're using a similar stone veneer that we have on the chimney on the inside. We're using a wooden deck out of Ipe wood, very reliable, very sustainable wood material. We're using concrete for the stairs. We're using permeable pavers. And then this is just an aluminum black for the downspout and for the rest of anything that has to do with aluminum. This is a night rendering so that you can see how the log cabin will look at night when it's illuminated. And this is the same materials that you saw before. This is another rendering. This is from the southeastern. Here you can see how people engage, people of all ages, children with their parents, people from all over the community. It's very important. You have your existing tree offering shades, the surrounding trees also offering shades. This is some of the materials previously mentioned. This is another view, another elevation of the northern western. Here we see the southwestern elevation rendering of how people engage within the ramp. And also here you can see the more of the bike rack and how people engage within the going around and around the deck of the log cabin. Here we are emphasizing the reuse of the original log cabin chimney. This is an interior view of how we're envisioning the log cabin. Here you have your reception desk. And here you can see how we are using some of the log components of the previous demolished log cabin. And also, as we mentioned, that this log cabin will be used as a community center and a memorial of the previous demolished log cabin. We have here some of the, like as an illustration, as an idea, concept of how it will, like a wall will look like, showcasing pictures from the previous original log cabin. As you can see here, we have the vending machine. That's also part of the program and the scope. Here you can see how you have people engaging, you have children. This is some of the interior materials that we have spoken about. You have the stone veneer from the original chimney from the log cabin. We have wooden flooring, two different type of wooden flooring. You have the wood logs, and then you have the glazing. This is another view of the interior. Now we're going to talk about the project schedule. So we started this project as phase 1 at the beginning of the year. It took us about 2 months. Later, we went into the schematic design package, which we call phase 2. And that was from April to June of this year. It took us about 3 months. And then later we went into the DRB submittal, which is the design review board submittal. That phase took us about 4 months. Right now we are in number 4, which is a community outreach meeting presentation. And later we are gonna move into the other presentation next week, which will be the design review board presentation, which is on September 11. But after that, we're gonna go into the design development phase, which is phase 3, that goes from September to November of this year, about 3 months. After that, that's that phase, we're gonna go into the construction documents phase, which will take around 2 months. It will take us until the end of the year. And later we're gonna go, as soon as everything is approved by the client, by the city of Miami Beach, we're gonna go and we're gonna proceed with permitting and bidding and award, which we consider this as phase 5, from spring to summer of 2026. Later, as soon as the project's been awarded to a contractor, the project is able to get built, and then it will start fall of 2026. And last but not least, we're gonna have the project completion, which will take around 9 months. Thank you, everybody. Do you have any questions?
Great. Thanks so much, Everlyn. So again, now we'll go into our Q&A. If everyone could just go ahead and raise their hand via Zoom, so that way you have an opportunity to ask a question. Of course, like we do for everything, if you're on a mobile device, there's a new feature, or not so new at this point, called Reactions. You could raise your hand that way. I do want to take a moment to recognize we had a few people join us as we went through the presentation. I want to thank again Mayor Stephen Miner and his aide, his Deputy Chief of Staff, Blake Govan, for joining us earlier. We also had Commissioner Laura Dominguez, Commissioner Kristen Rosen Gonzalez, Commissioner Tanya K. Bott, and I think also Jackie Boudin from Kristen Rosen Gonzalez's office. So thank you all for joining us. And I see Thais Vereda, who's the director of the GeoBond. I apologize for not introducing you earlier if I may have missed you, but thank you for being on as well. I am going to try to bring up our timer here, so just bear with me one moment. And I'm going to go to our first person who has their hand up. We have Ariana. Ariana, can you hear us? Hold on one moment. There we go. Can you hear us now?
Yes, hi, and I see the clock. Ariana Hernandez Reguan, North Beach here. I have 3 comments. Only the last one is going to be for the architects. The first one is to say that this meeting should not have been number 4 in the process. It should have been number 1. This is people in North Beach like myself who were very involved with rescuing and resurrecting the log cabin. Without exception, everybody's taken aback that this is being placed in the park. Actually, right next to where the GoBond has another project for the Coast Guard. We, and I speak for a number of people, want to know where this idea of putting it in the park came from. I was only able to find that it was a recommendation from the administration, but there's no specific administrator. The log cabin was located across the street, next to the Kitty Campus now, where there's now a junkyard. So there's no excuse to not putting it where it was. We know that there was a developer interested in that west lot, and so we want to know why it was moved. And that takes me to the next and last point, which is that the log cabin was just not a few logs. It was a live location where people came in and out, where people with disabilities worked there, where there was a nursery. So history and heritage is not just about 4 walls, it's about the life that it had. And it had it across the street and not inside a park. And so regarding the design, it's very nice, but I find the inside that it was dead. It looked like a museum, like the visitor center at a national park. reminded me of the one in the Everglades. But this was a live place where there were people going in and out all the time, right? And where people were employed. So I think that speaking for the neighbors, we want to know why it's not being placed across the street and why it doesn't become a lively place. But the main thing is that why it's not in its rightful place, the west lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hernandez, and we appreciate the question. I'm going to ask from our CIP team. I know they did some background and kind of looking into the original resolution that moved it. So I'm going to ask for some help from our CRP team. I'm not sure if Larissa, if you have that information in front of you, but I believe when we motion, if you could walk us through the resolution that did go ahead and move that. I believe it was related to the North Beach plan as well. I see David Gomez also has his hand up. David? David, you're on mute there.
Hi, this
There you
is
go.
David. Good evening, everyone. Kevin, you're absolutely right. There was a resolution by commission when they first did the feasibility study on the log cabin that made several recommendations of locations. And the commission gave us direction to place it in the park. As a matter of fact, it was fairly specific to the location in the park.
And perfect. So there is that resolution. And Ariana, I'm happy to share that with you after the call. I'm going to go to our next person with their hand up. We have Sharon. Sharon?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, now I can.
Hi, so I just want to echo what Ariana mentioned. I think putting it in the park is a terrible idea. First of all, the site look, I just came back from a walk in the park, and that site location there's like barbecue grills and like patio, like picnic tables. And I would want to know exactly how many trees are going to be removed in order to accommodate the log cabin there. The city already spent, I think it was like $1 million on trees along the beach walk that are all dead. So I don't think it's a great idea to remove trees from the park. It's like that area is like so beautifully shaded and it's used. I think a better spot is to put it back where it was on the west lot. You know, and I apologize, I was distracted, so I didn't hear the excuse as to why it can't go back there, but it was there for years, decades, forever, since the 30s, I think. And so I feel like it should go back on that west lot. If that west lot should be activated. I live immediately adjacent to that west lot, and we have had problems with squatters in multiple different places, and we've had problems with vandalism. And I think that lot not being activated and just being a junkyard with like broken, ripped fabric up all over it attracts a bad element. It would be far better to activate that lot. And what better way to do that than to put the log cabin back where it belongs? If it can't go there, perhaps it should be put to the west lot that is just north of the skate park, where there's already that big, beautiful tree. You know, maybe it could go there, but I don't think that the park is an appropriate spot for it. It should remain on the west lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. I am going to turn it over to David. You did mention that you just missed, I think, the opening part of our last response. I do want to just mention that. So the reason it was moved over from the West Lots was a previous city commission. There was a resolution directing staff. David had gone over this a little bit in terms of there's a few different feasibility options of moving the log cabin, and that's why the park was ultimately decided through that city resolution. David unmuted, and I think he'll help us with the tree question. David?
Yeah, and one of the things that led to this ultimate location was the consideration of trees in the area. This is the one site that best addresses necessary elevations for flood concerns, is the least impactful to surrounding trees. So that's those are two of the reasons why this site in the park was the one selected. Some of the other ones we looked at just impacted way too many trees or sat too low in elevation that we would have had to raise the building too far for flood concerns.
Thank you so much. I'm going to go next up, Bob Naines. If you can say your full name for us.
This is ML from Ocean Blue.
Hey,
And
ML.
we agree with the previous speakers. We believe also that it should be back in the location where it was originally in. We believe it's detrimental to put it in the park, and that's in terms of location. In terms of the structural design that I saw on the presentation, I also have a comment with regards to Hurricane. The original had a hip roof, which is a lot more conducive to not being affected by hurricane winds. And all of a sudden, I see at the entrance a gable end, which is not the right structural component that you should have in a hurricane zone, especially so close to the coastline. Also, the portal or the areas all around with the few skinny columns, I'm going to call them, that I saw, also asking for problems when it comes to hurricanes and hurricane winds so close to the water. So my comment is location, that overhang that you have is a structural concern in terms of hurricane, and also the entrance design of a gable end versus a hip. And actually the original log cabin had a hip roof too. So 2 comments: location and structural concerns.
Thank you so much for those comments. I think I'm going to turn it over to Larissa and Everlyn about the structural concerns, especially about the new Florida building codes and the different criteria that you have to meet. Everlyn, if you could help us with that response, and as well as, and I apologize, I didn't catch, I think you said the hip roof. Everlyn, if you could just walk us through the choices there, or Motion, I see you unmuted.
Okay, so we do have a structural engineer on board, and he has designed with us the roof, the wind load design according to ASCE 722 says that the velocity for this area is 175 miles per hour, and the exposure is D, and this building is category 2. So we have been in communication with the structural engineer, and he has vetted the design of this roof. So we shouldn't be concerned in terms of the structure, because it does comply with the building codes, and there has been calculations being done. So it won't fly away, I promise you.
And I guess, Evelyn, that building code and the structural engineers, I think there's a comment about the columns, but all that also applies. Is that correct?
All of that. You have foundation, you have a footing for the columns. Those are concrete, and later from there you're gonna have steel columns. So what you see there, that is, it looks like in the renderings they look as wooden columns. In reality, those are cladding out of wood, but inside you're gonna have a steel column, and that's holding the roof structure.
Okay, and then of course we'll note the other comment about it shouldn't be in the park as well that you had mentioned. I'm going to go to Marin. I apologize if I mispronounced. If you could state your name for us, Marin? Mariana?
Marian Wertelka, and I live in North Beach on 78th Street, and I have lived here for 40 years, and I remember going to the log cabin to buy Christmas trees and a pine wreath for my front door, and there was a guy selling juices there, and there was a community service project where developmentally disabled people were being trained for how to work. And so my question is, if you have the cabin across the street in the park, it is less likely for people to cross a very busy street to go to the cabin for any of those activities. You never mentioned what kind of activities will be held there. And the other thing is, my other concern is, because you're moving that structure so much closer to the ocean, we haven't had a direct or even an indirect hurricane hit in a few years. But when we do, that's going to be a problem. that is going to be a problem. I heard 10-foot elevation and I also heard slab on grade. So is this building going to be elevated or is it going to be flat on the ground? Storm surge is a really big risk. If you set it a little bit further back, like back on the west lot, maybe it might not be as easily damaged by a storm surge. My other question is, if there was a resolution by the commission to move it into the park, let's have another resolution by the commission to move it back to the west lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to ask Evelyn again if you could just help us with
Yes.
the engineering behind the location and the slab on grade question. And then as for there was a question about in respect to what is going into this space. There at this time there is no programming just yet. Commissioner Laura Dominguez's aide is on, and she did mention to us there is an item that's going to neighborhoods. I'm going to turn it over to Julian, aide to Commissioner Laura Dominguez, who wanted to just mention this item and give us some details of where it's going and where this discussion will take place. Julian?
Hello, hi Kevin, and hi everybody and thanks for being on the meeting. Yeah, so this item that Commissioner Dominguez has it was on the commission in June and got referred to the Neighborhoods Committee on September 10th. And this item is going to be discussing using a part of the log cabin for a community pantry with a fridge. So this resident mentioned that that there was more activities there, and this item here would make a community fridge and pantry permanent in this log cabin in North Beach to serve people there. And the goal is to have like a climate control location for this pantry, because apparently there was a previous pantry in North Beach that was damaged. So I think that the goal for this item is to have it in the log cabin in a secure climate control area for the community to use. So we're happy to discuss this soon.
Thanks, Julian. And that's going to be at the Neighborhood and Quality Life Committee. I'm going to ask Evelyn if you could go back to those structural questions about, I think there was to clarify the slab.
Yeah. Okay. So according to FEMA, the base flood elevation criteria is 7.5 feet NAVD. So we always have to add a freeboard to get that number plus the freeboard, which in this case is 2.5. We talked this with our civil engineer, and for us to have a finalized design floor elevation of 10 feet, which is what we currently have in the log cabin. Okay, when it comes to the slab on grade, the slab on grade is a 4-inch concrete slab on grade and is on compacted fill. So right now, the grading is about 7 to 8 feet. So we're gonna grade the area to have compact fill, and then on top of that, we're gonna have the 4-inch concrete slab on grade. That's what we're doing for us to be able to have a design elevation of 10 feet high for us to mitigate the flood.
So if I could try to translate a little bit of the engineering speak. When we refer to slab on grade, all that means is that you don't have an elevated ground floor. In other words, there's earth underneath it. It's sitting on the ground. What Evelyn is referring to by flood elevation is not that it's 10 feet in the air. That's relative to the datum of the sea, pretty much. So current elevations in the park are somewhere around 7. We need to grade that up to meet FEMA minimum elevations for the ground floor of the building. That's what she's referring to with bringing in fill and raising that floor. But it's really not 10 feet in the air. It's just a relative term based on the datum.
Great, thanks so much. I have Commissioner Tanya Bott. Commissioner?
Yeah, I just wanted to toss out to the group. We haven't yet really started talking about what the programming is going to be. I am working on something with some community members that will be making its way through the process and to the community for input. It's not quite ready yet, but you know, this is the time to start having conversations about it. I have a question also for the designers. I apologize, I missed the first couple of slides of the presentation, but it seems like this is a little bit of a reimagining of the log cabin. It's different from what I remember, and I was very active in trying to save the log cabin, and we were incensed when we had, as I was an activist, I was not an elected official, when we had the agreement of one of our commissioners to bring the item back to commission to delay the destruction of the log cabin, and the city manager at the time did not honor that, and it was demolished. And you know, it was terrible for lots of people, and it really soured relations between North Beach and City Hall for a long time. One of many things at that time that did so. But I mention this because it seems to me that this is almost like a reinterpretation of the log cabin as opposed to reconstructing it, understanding that we need to hit our, you know, current building code requirements. But can you address that a little bit? And perhaps you did in the very beginning, but I was getting off a different call to join this one.
Yes, and Commissioner, David also unmuted, and I'll have David give us a quick overview. There was some comments made about the materials of the original log cabin. So David, I don't know if you want to give us like a quick summary of.
Well, and I will just say it's less about materials because you know, I know that not all the wood was saved, et cetera, and I know that we need to upgrade our materials as necessary, but from a look and feel perspective.
So Commissioner, you're absolutely 100% correct in that a log cabin, the way it was built previously, would not meet current building codes. It would not resist current wind load requirements. So we couldn't use the material the same way as it was used before. What we elected to do was use as much of the material as we could to, I guess, resurrect that feeling of the log cabin, while also designing a facility that is more responsive to our environment and our climate. That's why you see the extended wraparound porches, because of the climate that we experience versus what you may experience in other parts of the country. That wraparound porch provides more shading, provides more airflow. It fits a little better with our environment than the original design did. And what we did is every bit of the material that we could use, we are reusing. There was a large portion of the material when it was disassembled that was just unusable. And then we are assuming that a portion of that was stored, even though it was selected at the time as salvageable, may not be 100% usable. So we're trying to use that material as best we can while also evoking the connection to the previous facility.
Great. Oh, I might have had some difficulties there.
Yeah, I think we lost you for a minute there, Kevin.
Okay, sorry about that. So next up, we have Larry Schaefer. Larry?
Hi, this is Larry Schaefer. Can you hear me okay? So yes, Tanya Bott, Commissioner, I certainly remember your long, detailed, frequent emails pleading the administration and the elected officials to stop the unnecessary destruction of the log cabin. And I felt you with every word and every sentence of those emails. And I personally witnessed the destruction of the log cabin with my own eyes, and it was traumatic. We live right next to the parcel, Sharon and I, and we've lived here for 13 years, and we've been observing the process from start to finish, and or can look at the city's behavior holistically and with a great amount of granular detail here. I'm going to just go through some points that I meant that I jotted down here. The reinterpretation versus putting back the original. I think that the consultant did a good did a good job with the wraparound porch, the paver porch, and some of the details. And the other details, we'll get to those later. But regarding the location of it, you're not getting support for moving it into the park. I've talked to a lot of people in the area, people online. Everyone wants to put it back where it is, where it was. I personally am open to negotiating a movement to the park if and only if the city renovates and turns the West Lots into a destination with placemaking and with things to do, and renovates the entire bit of the West Lots. And then you can move the log cabin into the park. That's to be discussed. You owe us a community center, and this is North Shores Community Center. This is where we can go to have a farmer's market. This is where we can have a grassroots political meeting. This is where we can have meet with candidates for commission. And so I would like to see it on the West Lots, because if you put it in the park, it's going to get overrun with weekend visitors from the mainland. They're going to come and use up all the space just like they do now. We have to stop that by raising parking prices and changing the configuration of the lots to make them work for us and not for the droves that come over on the weekends. This regarding slab on grade, I would prefer an elevated construction type with a crawl space underneath that can get flooded during a storm. And if we use the park location, I'd like to tweak the location to make you have an ocean view wall on the porch.
Thank you so much, Mr. Schaefer. We appreciate those comments. I'm going to now go to our next person, Miss Linda Diamond. Linda?
Yes, hi there. So I see the log cabin actually every day. It is in a big container right across the lot from me. So I rent the top third of the property for the kiddie campus, where we've reduced the population of cats on the beach. So whether you hate cats or love cats, you should love us, because we are here for spay and neuter and adoption. So I believe that I've done a lot of studying on the West Lots, and everything I've heard and all the think tanks that the city has paid for is all about community usage. And the log cabin is delightful. I actually saw it before it got broken down and was in a container that I that I look at every day. So if we rebuilt it on the West Lots, what more could you ask for? You've got a cat community service area. You've got the log cabin, which is delightful, and then you build up all around it. So as a renter of the last third of that quadrant, I would ask that we would only pay attention to access to the kiddie campus, to drop off large deliveries, to have trucks coming in to do spay and neuter and things such as that. Other than that, I think the West Lots is where it should be.
Great, thank you so much, Ms. Diamond. We're going to go next to Clive Parse, I apologize. Oh, David, I think you want to respond there. Hold on, Clive, before we get back to you. David? Oh, I muted you. Let's try one more time. Give you a second there, David, if you could just go ahead and unmute.
Apologies, everyone. It actually isn't a comment. I am double booked, and regrettably, I do have to drop off. But I think the feedback that we're getting is fantastic. I'm hoping that we can continue to engage and move the project forward.
Thank you, David. And don't worry, Clive, you are our last person with their hand up, but our team's still here to answer any questions you may have. So I'm going to go to you next, Clive.
Yeah, good evening. This is Clive Pierce. It's been interesting listening to the feedback and the consensus. There's really two things going on here. There's the issue about the rebuilding the log cabin, and of course it can't be put back exactly the same way it was built before, and even though it withstood every storm since the 30s apparently, but moving it closer to the ocean doesn't make any kind of sense as far as tidal surges and things of that nature. But the other issue that is really on everybody's head here is moving it from the West Lots. I mean, that was the intent. That's the spirit of the thing, was to keep it where it came from, and it worked well there for so many years. Why would you want to move it? And I hear it was the previous commission created a resolution to move it. Well, let the current commission re-resolution it. You know, it doesn't make any sense to put it in the park. I mean, like, it could be such a great place. I heard somebody mention it for the North Beach people to have a place for meeting for grassroots. Pantry. There's so many good things that can be done with it. Sticking it in the park, it's hard to get to. Crossing a busy street like Collins doesn't make any kind of sense at all. I just don't see it. Just leave it where it was. Continue to let that beautiful log cabin and all the things that were good about it continue to grow again. And as far as places for a pantry to be, that would be wonderful. I just don't understand the whole concept of putting it in the park. There could be a homeless people living around there, and it gets so busy on the weekend, you can't even move because of the barbecue on the weekends. And this is when the people in North Beach are off work and they want to use it. So it doesn't make any kind of sense at all. I just hope that the new commission or the current commission can re-resolution it. I want to use those words because what happened with the previous commission doesn't make any sense for the community. Let the North Beach get their put back into the center of the things again instead of getting the short end of the stick. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Clive Pierce. We appreciate those comments, and I apologize if the timer was a bit delayed there, but we thank everybody for keeping their comments within 2 minutes. As the team said, so next up, this will be going to the Design Review Board next week. And I'll just have Larissa confirm us on the date. But I do want to thank everybody for taking the time this afternoon to participate in this meeting, provide the feedback. Larissa, if you could just remind me of the date for Design Review Board. It's going to be September 11th.
Yes, Kevin, you're correct. It's September 11th.
Excellent. Well, again, thank you all for taking the time. This meeting was recorded and we'll be sharing the recording tomorrow. So thank you and have a great night.
Thank you.